Hello and welcome to Drakon video series. Today we are going to design a serpent pendant necklace. So I'm going to start here with the text object command, right click, and we are going to define the letter S with here 22 millimeters and output as curves. So I'm going to place it on the center, and in here, once I have my curves, I'm going to extrude, let's say I want to enable the grid snap, so let's extrude 1, 2, 3, means 0.5 millimeters each step, so we are extruding 1.5. Remember that you can also type on the dot the distance exactly you want. So now I want to create the here on the top area for the gems, where I will resist maybe to create an inset first. So I will select the surface. Now the distance, let's type 0.4, okay. And once we have our distance defined, our border distance, I can use, let's say now, minus 0.4 extrusion distance. So we are having a recessed area with a 0.5 millimeters depth. So the idea now is to place some gems in here. There would be different possibilities. I can use here the pave setting just to define here. First, let me just define the space between gems and margin. Also gem size I will adjust individually later. By default is 1.5, but I will use here the first the resize. Let's resize here a couple of them, and also I will add not 1.2, maybe 1.4. I want to make sure here the let's add 1.3 millimeters in here, maybe 2, and let's see here, we will have room for more, but I will need to adjust also the sizes. Let's say here 1.5. all right, looks good. In here maybe I can adjust here to 1.4, and maybe in here 1.6 in the middle, and it looks good. We can adjust here either the space between gems, and also let's say 1.3. well, we have a couple of gems in between 1.3 and 1.6 millimeters. And for the setting, we could use the pave prongs, but I'm going to use in this case the prongs row, since it's a row of gems. So we go to the prongs row, select the group of gems, and we will need to adjust here some of the settings. So let's define here the horizontal distance, increase a little bit. Also the height, we can increase the height, the smooth level. So there will be a couple of adjustments to the prongs we can do. Also here the top and end, we can use here the single end, single start prong, and we can rotate here a little bit. This one is the same as the bottom one. Okay, we can also adjust the position with the gamble, but for now this one it's looking good. I'm going to create the cutters where I will use first the Azure cutter for the back part. So I'm going to select the gems and the object. I select here the back part, so the surface where I want to project my Azure cutters. We have the different options here, but I'm going to use the defaults, and I need to create before here the gem cutter for the stone seed. So once again, I just select the cutters, and we can decrease here the depth of the cutter, and it looks good. So we can make the Boolean operation to remove the cutters. So in this step, Boolean difference to remove, first I select the Azure cutters and the gem cutter, and the objects to keep is the solid, but I will also use the prongs since I want to cut here all the bottom of the prongs. So I make the single Boolean operation. And now we want to create serpent around this shape. So the first thing I want is the mid curve, just to guide my shape. So what I'm going to do is to use, probably here I'm going to isolate these curves. Maybe I can explode and ungroup, so make sure the curves are ungroup and explode. You will see they will have some segments. What I want is just to delete this and keep the curves as a single one, but I will rebuild to be just a single segment for each one. And probably the twin curves will get us a very good result. Let's make sure the start and end points are the same. Well, it's not exactly in the middle, but we can adjust the control points here in the top view. Probably it will be easier. We can just drag. Let me remove the grid snap just to drag the positions of these control points to be in the center of my shape. So this is just a guide for my helix. We will see on the next command we will use helix around curves, so I just want them to be properly aligned with my object. So I can hide this, actually bring back my object, and also I will, back to the perspective, I will probably hide, not hide, but move to the center of the object, move down. So what I want is to create an helix in here. So let's see here, helix command with the around curve option. So what I want is to select the curve. Here in the wireframe it's easier. And what I want is in this helix is to define, here in the command line we have number of turns 5. So the diameter, I will use something bigger than my object. It looks good. So what I'm going to do with this curve is to apply a serpent shape along, but not to the entire curve. What I'm going to do first is to use this subcurve command to define the start point. Maybe I will start, let's say, from here until somewhere in here. So this will be the curve, and actually I'm going to create another one for the head, where I'm going to select now the subcurve, but with copy option yes. So the start point and end point, just a little bit, and extend it. So extend it to be one curve, actually two curves we have in here, one small part for the head and the other one for the body. So let's use the metal on curve, and with the metal on curve we can select first this one. Let's select the round profile. Then I also want to be in the center of the curve, and finally the measurements, let's use maybe 1.8 width and 1.8 millimeters for height, and we can adjust later before applying the texture. But now I'm going to do a match, so apply the same parameters for the other curve, which means that I'm going to apply exactly the same, but now for the other part. And in here I'm going to adjust the shape of the head with three different profiles. So the plan is to, let's probably use a different display mode. First I'm going to rotate here to the bottom this seam curve, and I'm going to use now three different profiles: start, mid, and bottom. So the idea is to change here the mid profile and increase here the width as well as the height, maybe a little bit more. So we are making the shape. Let's use here for the extreme part, the end part, let's use the same profile and use height and width smaller. Okay, so this is the idea, but we will want to create here another thing, which is edit this one to make the tail a little bit thinner. So let's use the same option, single profile no, which means that I will now be able to define here the measurements just for the end profile different from the others. So let's use maybe 1.4. Okay, so looks good. Smooth cap, we can make it something like this, looks good. So I'm going to keep this shape. Remember, we can anytime double click or come back here to the edition. And the plan now is to apply a texture, and also we will want to apply the veil, but before maybe I can apply some gems here on the eyes. So probably here I can use pear shape with sizes, let's say 1.5 millimeter. Actually, we can adjust while we are positioning the gem. So let's use the keyboard shortcut. So for the rotation we have A and D, and also we have the increase and decrease sizes with the S and W. So we can adjust here one like this. We can rotate to see exactly where we are placing it. One in here probably, and the other somewhere in here. Let's rotate again with keyboard shortcuts to be easier. So the positions We can of course adjust, but this is the idea. Okay, and also create here a texture before applying here the settings, or the settings first and the texture later. So the what I'm going to use is the bezel setting. Let me just reduce here the width, the thickness. This is a very small gem. So the depth, let's select the one and the second one. Okay, so we can decrease here the height, the thickness. So also adjust here how we want. Of course, we can adjust here the positions later, but for now I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to adjust here the position before making the cutter. So let's first make sure we have this one. I will adjust the position, so position on object, and make sure we are selecting I'm selecting on the object I want, and what I'm going to do is to remove here it's catching. Let me remove disable the snaps. It will be easier, and probably rotate a little bit more. Okay, the bezel probably we will need to readjust, as well as the gems positions as well. So let's create the texture. Maybe we can use here the snake pattern. Let's use the auto squish. We can use here the select this one, and let's make sure we are applying number of copies. We will need many more in this direction, and swap the direction as well as invert. So let's make it in this direction. So this is the texture, and also I want to disable border and enable the solid option. So let's make it in the Drakon display mode so we can see. And in here we can also decrease the thickness. So for the texture of the body, and we will need to adjust there the gems position. So the first thing is I'm going to adjust this gem position. So I'm going to edit once again position. So let's make it on the object, and also in this case it's taking more since we applied the texture. There are more objects on the document, so I want it somewhere in here. Okay, now let's bring back the bezel, and for the bail, of course, this we can rotate. I can see the rotation is still not as I want, so let's rotate this gem. Here the self rotation, not to this side but to the other side. So the plan is to rotate the gem before applying the cutter to be on the position we want before applying the bail. So in here For this, I will also adjust here the bezel, here the rotation, and also the height. Okay, what we want to do is a cutter for the stone seat of these gems, and also we want to apply the bail. So the gem cutter we can do like this, the same, adjust the cutter positions. In here probably we can increase here the, not the height, but the girdle offset. So what we will do is to use here to increase a little bit the girdle offset, and let's say for the boolean the same operation. So boolean difference, to remove the cutters from the, in this case from the other part, which is this one. So we create the stone seat, and finally we will apply the bail here under jewelry. We can use the gumball for the placement of the bail, and also we will need to make sure the measurements is what we are looking for. Maybe the jump ring we can use inkjet jump ring, maybe with a smaller diameter, and also here is the thickness of the wire. So let's say the diameter 1.75, and finally I think we could make the booleans to make sure that the jump ring will meet the requirements. What I want here is to make sure this part, let's make it ungroup to be easier to understand. So ungroup all, and we will see that this and this will make it connected to the main pendant, and this one to the bail. So let's make the Boolean difference first. So we can use here Boolean difference. I want to first to make room for these two, so I'm going to remove from this part the object to keep. I'm going to remove the outside one and the outside number, not this one but this one. So this is the idea for the bail, but I want not to delete inputs just because I'm going to use it in the other side. So the bail, I just need to make the Boolean union between this and well, actually before I will need to make the difference with the other side again. So once again, so I select now the main pendant, which will be this Boolean. Actually, I can select only this object, like from the document, and the other one will be the central one, which will be the object B, will be the central one, which is this one. So we will make room in the other side, but no delete inputs. So maybe this and this, and finally this and this. So if we hide this one, we will see the room we get from from the object. So this is one object, the other object, and as you will see, we have the pendant defined. This is one exercise. Then we could apply here the chain. Also, we could do a couple of more details for the head. But this is the idea for today. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.